All right. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're at in the world. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar on an introduction to Altaro VM Backup version 8. Got a lot of great information to go through today here with you. Really excited to do so, and we got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So first off, my name is Andy Serwich. I'm a technical evangelist here at Altaro Software. And I'm going to be taking you through the product today. Before my time with Altaro Software, I spent, dating myself a bit here, 15 to 18 years, somewhere in that area, in the IT space, IT departments, and also managed services providers. So very familiar with the unique situations that come up with IT administrators and backup and recovery. So looking forward to talking you through today's content. So let's talk about what our agenda is for this session. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Altaro, who we are, what we're about, what we do, that type of thing. And then we'll get into a product overview where we're going to talk about, the product from a 10,000 foot view, and then we'll drill down into the individual features and the stuff that you're looking for in a backup application. From there, we'll talk about installation and deployments, backing up and restoring VMs, what the different additions and some of the licensing information is. And at the end, we'll touch briefly on our partner program and Q&A. Now, one thing about the Q&A I always like to point out, if you have questions, feel free to ask them, as we go through the session today. And if I can organically address, any of the questions as we go through, I certainly will. Otherwise, I'll be sure to pick up all the questions at the end of the session today. So with that said, let's go ahead and dig into Altaro. What are we all about? So we've been around for 10 years now, since 2009. So we're by no means new to the industry. We've been around for a while. And worldwide, we've got 50,000 plus customers. We've got 10,000 plus partners worldwide, which 2,000 of those are MSPs. We've got a lot of independent 5-star reviews out there on the interwebs. So if you're interested in reviewing some of those, I'm certainly you can find them. Strong growth over the last couple of years as well. We've seen a lot of strong growth over the last couple of years, and we're excited to have much more. Let's talk about our vision. And I think it's always important when companies give these webinars that you talk about what the company's vision is. And really what our vision is to become the #1 virtual backup and replication solution built for MSPs and IT departments. And as far as our solutions go, we've got Altaro VM Backup, which is what you're here learning about today. We've also got Altaro VM Backup for MSPs, and we also have Altaro Office 365 Backup, not only for MSPs, but also for individual organizations and IT departments as well. Talking about us as a company, I always also think it's important to talk about, what are the core values of the company? Because I remember back when I was an IT administrator evaluating solutions, it wasn't enough that the solution was a fit for me, but the vendor had to be a fit for me as well. So I always think it's important to share this stuff. So, the 4 things that we really pride ourselves on, the 4 pillars, I guess I would call them, is first being ease of use. Ease of use has been a design goal since the inception of the company. The application has to be easy to use, and you have to be able to start your first backup within 15 minutes. That's our goal from day one. But with that, we also want to provide outstanding support. I have nothing but amazing things to say about our support team. We provide 24/7 support, and our calls are answered in less than 30 seconds by a human. I'm going to be talking about our support guys a little bit later, so I won't cover that much more now. Additionally, we like to pair our product and our support stuff with exceptional educational resources like this webinar. In addition to this webinar, we also provide a lot of community resources centered around Hyper-V, Azure, Office 365, VMware, and MSPs specifically. We've got 3 blogs out there, one for Hyper-V, Azure, Office 365, another blog for VMware, and another one specifically geared at MSPs. You can go to altaro.com, and up at the top, the bar there, you'll see a section for blogs and educational resources. I highly encourage you to check that out if you're interested. And then our 4th pillar really is a empowered channel. We really see the power of the channel, and we think that the channel is a great way to service our customers and get out to our customers in a more efficient way. So definitely we see the value, and we definitely like to be part of that empowered channel. A couple of the customers that we have, some of the bigger ones, most of these you see are very large companies, and this comes down to, a specific piece or a specific department within these organizations are actually using our product. My personal favorite there is NASA. I just think it's really, really cool that NASA uses our product because I'm a big space guy. But definitely we're proud to be able to say that a lot of these large organizations use our product. So definitely we're very proud of that fact. A couple of the awards that we've won over the years, some of the more recent ones in 2019, we've got the InfoSec Award winner up there in the top right. Kind of the center of the screen, we've got the Global Excellence Award winner for Virtualization Backup Solutions Developer, and a couple other awards that we've gotten over the years there as well. And then let's get into our product review, the thing that you're here to listen to today. So first off, let's kind of start with a kind of an overview. What is Altaro VM Backup version 8? And really what this product amounts to is it provides backup services for virtual machines running on both Hyper-V and VMware. And it's designed, again, specifically for MSPs and IT departments, and it's designed to be easy to use and deploy. So really, again, 15 minutes to your first backup from the initial installation, and really minimal ongoing maintenance because, again, I've sat in the IT administrator seat for many years. There are a lot more things going on in the IT department than just backups. So definitely we want to make sure that it's easy to use and it's powerful and it's reliable. That way you can get back to all the other stuff that you've got that you've got on your plate as an IT administrator. So, we do everything that you're looking for in a backup application. We provide, advanced functionality like deduplication, offsite replication, file and exchange item level restores, things like that. I'm going to be covering those a little bit more detail later. It scales. So, we work great for small environments, and it scales up really well to larger environments as well. And we fully support Hyper-V clusters, including CSV file systems and SMB3. And we also support VMware vCenter and vSphere clusters as well. And we're really optimized for performance. Not only do we focus on ease of use, but we also focus on making the application as lean and mean as possible. So we focus on fast, small backups that are easy on resources. And I'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about deduplication later in the session. So a little bit more of a product overview. Really we provide unbeatable value. Like I said, we provide all the tools that you're looking for in a backup application. And I mentioned our 24/7 support, with that lightning fast call response of 30 seconds or less. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more later, so I won't spend too much time on it now. So let's actually drill down into the specific benefits. So again, the core product here is we're backing up virtual machines that are based on Hyper-V and VMware. And those backups can be done hot. The VMs can be live, they can be up and running, zero downtime required to do those backups. And the way that we do that is we're facilitating the backup through the APIs that Microsoft and VMware provide in their stack for backup vendors. And we can back up all guest operating systems. We can back up Linux, Unix, we can back up old versions of Windows. The key point here that I always like to point out is we can back up older operating systems as long as they are supported to run on the hypervisor that they're on. So, I think of like Windows Server 2019. If you're running Hyper-V on Windows Server 2019, some of the older versions of Windows are not officially supported by Microsoft. So that's what you got to be careful of there. So make sure that if you want us to back up the application, back up a specific virtual machine or an older guest operating system, make sure that it's actually supported to run on the hypervisor that you're running it on. We can also back up Exchange and SQL virtual machines, and we'll handle the transaction log truncation for you. We've got change block tracking, so we're using the change block tracking features inside of VMware and Hyper-V to get, a real-time change tracking, which allows us to be quicker and more efficient when we come around and actually do the backups. We do compression. We actually do encryption as well. So for those organizations that, maybe you have to adhere to certain industry compliancy, or maybe you just want to encrypt your backups for best practices. We do offer that 256-bit AES encryption, both at rest and in transit. And we also do host level concurrency, meaning that we could do more than one backup at a time, assuming that your hardware can handle that, right? By default, we'll do 4 concurrent backup jobs per host at a time, per hypervisor. And what we found is that 4 seems to be kind of the sweet spot as far as speed and overhead of resources go. And that is modifiable if you want to, but we found that 4 tends to be the sweet spot. One of our newer features that we have is grandfather, father, son archiving, or we just call it GFS for short. So what this is really useful for those organizations that need really long-term retention, but they don't want to keep, retention daily during that longer time period. So what you do is you can enable a grandfather, father, son, and you kind of get that whole, okay, we're going to do 1 backup for 12 weeks, and then we're going to do 1 backup per month for 12 months, and then we're going to do 1 backup per year for 2 years, kind of get these longer point in time snapshots for those organizations that need longer retention. So very useful in those situations. Another new feature that we have, new-ish, we've had it for a little while now, is continuous data protection. So by default, when you enable CDP on a backup, we will start backing up that workload every 15 minutes. You can increase that to 1 backup every 5 minutes, assuming that your hardware is capable of handling it. Again, you want to make sure that it really comes down to disk speed. Really, is that the disk churn can handle doing a backup every 5 minutes. And really, what this does is it reduces your RPOs down to just a couple of minutes. So I see some organizations that really need this. They're really liking this feature. Away and optimize replication. This is another newish feature we have. But basically what this does is, we've had offsite backups for a long time, the ability to send those backups offsite. But with our offsite backups solution, if you had to do a recovery from the offsite location, you had to actually do a recovery job, which, if it's a large VM, could take some time. So what we've done is we've added this replication feature, which kind of, you're standing up something of a warm site, like a DR warm site somewhere, that in the event that your main location becomes a smoking crater in the ground for whatever reason, you can go to that offsite location, and it's literally as simple as just turning on those VMs and going. So, there's no restore time required. Basically, you're down as long as it takes to figure out that, whoa, hey, there's something wrong, and 2, go over to your recovery location, flip the switches, and there you go. So again, replication frequency there, you can do as little as 5 minutes, or you can go as much as 12 hours. What I found is that for most customers, that's going to depend on how big is the internet pipe in between the 2 locations. Usually is what determines how often they're going to replicate. And the rate of change of data as well plays a part there too. So let's talk about some of our underlying technology. So one of my personal favorite things about our application is our deduplication technology. We call it our augmented inline deduplication. And you think about deduplication, really in the industry, there's 2 methodologies of thought, I guess I would say. The first is what they call post-process deduplication, where I'm going to send all the data to the storage location, and then I'm going to dedupe it. The problem with that is you're sending all of these blocks that you don't need to send across the wire. And that's where inline deduplication comes in. And that's what we do. We actually do the deduplication as part of the backup job. That way we're only sending the blocks to the storage that we absolutely need to send. And what this really amounts to is it gives us, significantly lower storage requirements, much faster backups, less data transferred, which in the end comes out to, bandwidth savings. And the other nice thing about this is that our deduplication is not per job. It is, across everything in the backup storage repository. So if you're sending 100 virtual machines to that storage location, we dedupe across all of those backups. So really what it does is the more that you're sending to that storage repository, the more storage efficiency you're getting out of that location. And the other key thing here is that, we pair this technology with a variable block size, which allows us to get really efficient storage savings. And it also prevents this feature from being taxing on server performance. That's a question I get all the time, and really we have very minimal overhead for this feature. So overall, it's been very widely appreciated amongst our customers. And I've just got some statistics here to kind of show you where our deduplication comparison lines up with some of our competitors. This is for Altaro VM Backup version 7. With version 8, it's very similar to these statistics that you see here. You see we come out quite a bit lower than some of our competitors. And then we also did a sample of 100 customers' data, and we compared those data sets with our deduplication versus some of our competitors, and we come out to roughly 63% savings when compared to some of our competitors. And then from there, let's talk about a couple of additional newish features that we have in the product. So another one of my favorites here, cloud backup to Azure. So I mentioned offsite backup storage a little bit earlier. And we can offsite backups to pretty much any location that you control. Maybe it's a colo data center somewhere. Maybe it's a data center you control. You install our offsite server software at that location, which is no additional licensing costs. And that offsite server basically acts as a catcher's mitt for the backup storage. Now, where this particular feature comes into play is if maybe you don't have a colo data center somewhere or a data center you control elsewhere. In this case, you can actually utilize Microsoft's Azure Public Cloud as your offsite backup location. And what this does is it utilizes Azure's block blob storage, which is their most cost competitive storage that they have. And it also allows you to go straight to Azure storage without the need of an extra virtual machine. With Azure, we don't have the requirement of an Altaro offsite server at that location. You can go directly to the storage account. It's literally as easy as logging into Azure, provisioning a new storage account, and then they have what's called a connection string. It's just a long string of random characters. You grab that, paste it into our application, and then we can start using it as an offsite location for backups. Very efficient, very easy to use. And the other important thing is that feature still allows us to use our compression, our encryption, our deduplication, basically all the bells and whistles that we're doing for all the other backups. So we've talked about backups. Restoration is really the important part, right? Because what good are backups if you can't restore? So we have like a number of different options when it comes to restoration. We can do a full virtual machine restore. We can restore it as a clone. We can restore a different version of the virtual machine. We can recover to a different host. One key point that I always like to point out there, we can recover to a different host of the same hypervisor type. We don't support cross hypervisor restoration. So if you're running a virtual machine on Hyper-V, you can't recover it to VMware and vice versa. If it's a Hyper-V VM, it has to be recovered to a Hyper-V host. If it's a VMware VM, it has to be recovered to a VMware host. So I always like to point that out. Additionally, we have an option called boot from backup, which allows you to boot a virtual machine from the backup storage, and I'll get into that a little bit here in a second. We also offer granular restoration options. So if you want to grab just an individual file, you have the ability to do that. If you have an Exchange, a virtual machine on premises, and you need to grab a specific piece of mail from that Exchange instance, we have the ability to do that. And you can recover just a specific virtual disk if you want as well. So a lot of different restoration options there. I mentioned boot from backup earlier. Another one of my favorite features here. I have quite a few of them, but this one is really useful in a lot of situations. And the use case example that I always give here is I was in a situation one time where I was supporting a medical customer. And the medical customer, their patient records database was huge. This SQL box, it was just a standalone SQL box. It was 2.5 terabytes in size, fairly sizable. And one day, this thing just fell flat on its face and wasn't coming back. Now, the backup application that they were using at the time didn't have a feature like this. So we're talking about doing a full restoration of this machine, 2.5 terabytes. It took 18 hours, 19 hours. And meanwhile, the organization's down, they can't service patients, things like that. It's not a good day, right? Now, with boot from backup, what it allows you to do is, you say, oh, hey, this virtual machine is down, it's offline. I need to do a recovery. With boot from backup, you can actually boot a copy of that virtual machine from the backup storage, and really you're down as long as it takes to realize there's an issue and for that virtual machine to boot from the backup storage. Now there's two different modes here. The first one is verification mode, where you just want to boot up that virtual machine just to make sure it works with the boot from backup feature. Or we have recovery mode. And what this does is it boots the virtual machine up, and in the background it starts a recovery job. So users are up and running, they're using the server. Meanwhile, that recovery job is happening in the background. And what we're doing is we're tracking all the changes that are being made while that recovery operation is happening. Once the recovery job is done, it says, you know, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Administrator, I'm all done now. Let me know when you would like to commit changes. You, the administrator, say, okay, click commit the changes. We'll shut down that instant boot version of the virtual machine. We'll roll up all the changes that occurred during the day, and then we'll boot that newly restored, fully recovered instance of the virtual machine. So really, it's a very painless process, and it really helps in those sticky situations. We also have some sandbox restore and verification options. So if you just want to verify the backup folders to make sure you know all the file pointers are happy and healthy, make sure the file system is happy and healthy, we have that option. You can schedule a full test restore. You know, can we take what's in the backup storage and fashion a virtual machine out of it? That's what that test restore does. And then also we have the backup health monitor, which will scan all of the backup storage during a defined schedule and just kind of make sure that, you know, there are no bad blocks, there's no corruption, that type of things. And if it finds any, it'll be sure to let you know as well. So some handy features there just to kind of make you feel warm and fuzzy when it comes to the health of your backups. So with that, I have a couple more slides after this, but I wanted to show you the application a little bit as well. So I've got a lab environment here. And this is the on-premises application here. So we also have what's called the Cloud Management Console, which is it's a web-based utility for managing multiple instances of this application. But what you're seeing here on the screen right now is the on-premises version of this application. So you see here that I'm on the dashboard. You know, I can see kind of all the high-level overview stuff of the backup environment. So I can see, you know, what my backup drive status is, how much free space do I have, how much of my backup's taking. Here are my active and upcoming operations. You see I don't have anything happening right now. If there were any active backup jobs, you would actually see them happening in this section right here. Additionally, we've got our deduplication and compression statistics here. So you can see that my total protected data comes out to 671, and it's been deduplicated down to 374. So I've got about 44% savings here. There's not a lot of similarity between workloads in this lab. There's a lot of different stuff in here. But, you know, again, the more VMs you have, the more efficient that percentage becomes. And you can also see recent operations here. You know, green obviously is good, red is bad. So you can see over the last couple of days, there were a few random issues in this lab. But it's good so you can actually see what's going on. You can drill down into these messages too, which I'll show you here in a second. So when you install the application for the first time, it'll actually direct you to the first 3 main steps that you have to take to get things going. First thing it'll do is it will send you to the host screen. And here you can see, you know, any hosts that I'm providing backup services for, and if they're associated with a cluster. So you can see here I have 2 Hyper-V hosts that are in this HVCLSTR cluster. Adding a host is really easy. You just select, you know, whether it's a Hyper-V host or cluster, or whether it's a standalone ESXi host or a vCenter instance. You know, pop in your credentials, and then we'll add it to the list. I mentioned concurrency earlier. So like I said, by default, we will do 4 backups per host at a time. If for some reason, you know, you need to drop that down to 1 backup at a time, maybe you have a host that is, you know, really overtaxed right now for some reason, you can come in here and, you know, check this off, and we'll do 1 at a time to kind of save on overhead. And then as far as next steps for getting your first backup started after you add in your host, we'll direct you to this backup locations view. Center column is local on-premises backups. Right-hand column are your offsite locations. So you can see here, I am just using a network share to host my backups. And we have lots of different options here. You know, you can use a physical drive, USB, ASATA, iSCSI. an internal drive. You can do a network path to a NAS or some other network location. As far as offsite locations go, you can see I'm actually using an Azure storage account. And we have a lot of different options here for offsite storage. You know, you can do a physical drive, you can do a drive rotation, you can do an Altaro offsite server, you can do cloud backup to an Azure storage account. Let me just show you really quick how easy that is. As far as the Azure storage account goes, if you need instructions on setting that up, you can click this link right here and we'll open up the how-to page. And what you'll do is you just grab, like I said, that connection string. Grab that connection string, paste it in here, and click finish, and you're done. That's it. Very easy, very simple to get set up. And then from there, we have a number of different various backup settings. You know, what are your backup schedules? You can define those here. You know, I mentioned continuous data protection settings. If you want to enable that for any of your virtual machines, you can do that here and configure how often they happen. What are your retention policies? I won't spend a lot of time on this particular section, but one thing I always like to point out is you can have different retention policies for offsite backups and different ones for on-site backups. So if you only want a week on premises, but 5 years off-site, we can do that. So you have the ability to define those differently. A couple other things, you know, VSS settings. If you want to disable VSS, volume shadow, copy inside of any of the virtual machines, you can do that here. Advanced settings, this is where you would control encryption. If there are any ISOs attached to the virtual machine, whether you want to exclude those, if you want to enable or disable change block tracking, if you want to exclude any drives, you can do that here. The most common thing I see for excluded drives is maybe somebody has a SQL virtual machine that they're running SQL backups to you know, like a secondary VHD or a VHDX or a VMDK. You don't want to back up backups, so you exclude that drive. That's just one common use case that I run into there. If you need to free up storage on one of your backup repositories, you can do that here, and then also the master encryption key. So this is the encryption key that we'll actually use to encrypt the backups. One thing that I always like to emphasize here, when you set this encryption key, document the heck out of it. Document it, because if you go ahead and set this, forget to document it, take backups for a year, and then need to recover, not even Altaro support can help you. We have no way of recovering your encryption key. So if when you set your encryption key, document it, because you're going to need it when you do a recovery. So a couple of other things I want to mention. I want to be cognizant of time, so I won't spend too much more time on this. We do have a couple of email notifications. By default, we will log to the Windows event log on the machine running our software. You know, backups, if you want to start a backup manually, you can come in here, select which virtual machines you want to do a backup, and click Take Backup. Same thing with offsite copies. If you want to initiate a manual offsite copy, you can do so here. Additionally, we have the option to seed to disk. So let's say you have a fairly large virtual machine that you want to get to the offsite backup repository, but you don't want to send it across the wire. You can seed that to disk, send that to your offsite location, open up the Altaro offsite server console, and actually import that data to do your initial offsite copy if you have a rather large virtual machine. Replication settings are configured right in here. It's fairly simple to configure. Again, you have to have an Altaro offsite server somewhere and have it configured for replication. If you're interested in that, you can go out to our support facts. It's just basically you go to our website, altaro.com. You'll see a support section, and we have a repository there with a bunch of knowledge-based articles that'll walk you through how to set up the replication. Restoration, you know, I mentioned we have a lot of different options here. We can do as a clone, as a disk, file level granular restore, exchange granular restore, or boot from backup. A lot of different options there. And then the other thing, again, being cognizant of time here, get help. Support is never far away. If you ever need help, we've got support baked right into the application here. You can actually launch live chat from within the application. And it will actually tell you what the response times currently are as well. So email response, you can see is currently less than an hour. Phone response is less than 30 seconds. Live chat response is 16 seconds as well. So again, support is never far away. So with that, let's hop back to the slide deck. I have a few more slides to cover. Let me switch that back. There we go. So I mentioned the Altaro Cloud Management Console a little bit earlier. Really what this is a web-based console that you can use to manage multiple instances of our application. It's designed for multi-tenancy in mind. So for you MSPs that are out there, it's designed to help you manage our backup application across your entire customer base. If you're a standalone organization or just an IT department, this tool is also used to manage this application amongst several different locations. So if you have multiple locations with multiple data centers, this is going to be your management tool for managing our backups across all those disparate locations. And the other nice thing about this tool is it's real time. You think about a lot of our competitors' web-based tools, and there's a bit of a delay. And the other nice thing about our tool, our web-based management tool, is that you can actually do backup and recoveries from it. A lot of our competitors are reporting and licensing only. So from there, a couple other things to cover here. Let's talk about installation. Installation is literally as simple as 1, 2, 3. You download the exe. You execute it. It just has to be installed on a Windows box somewhere in the environment. If it's a standalone Hyper-V host, you can install it right on the Hyper-V host if you want to. Just has to be a Windows box somewhere in the environment. Supported hypervisors for Hyper-V, we support anything 2008 R2 or newer, including Windows Server Core. For VMware, we support ESXi 5.0 and newer. One thing to note, we do not support the free version of ESXi. That's because the backup APIs in ESXi free are set to read only, and there's no way around that, unfortunately. A couple of additional tools that are available. The middle one I've already mentioned, the Altaro Offsite Server. Again, that's just a piece of software that gets installed offsite that acts as a catcher's mitt for the offsite backups. Again, there's no additional licensing cost for that offsite server. The top one, the remote management tools. So you don't have to actually be logged on to the machine that the software is installed on to manage it. You can also use our cloud management console, like I mentioned a second ago, or you can use the remote management tools from like your laptop or your workstation to remotely manage the application. So the demo I just showed you, I was using the remote management tools to connect remotely to the machine running our software. And from there, let's talk about the different editions and licensing. So the key thing here is for non-MSPs, we license at the host level, not the socket level, not the CPU socket, at the host level. Again, we not only want to be simple and easy to use from a technical perspective, but from a vendor and just dealing with us perspective, we want to be very easy to work with as well. So we don't want to make you count things like CPU sockets, or if you add an additional CPU to a host later on, now you have to worry about going and buying more backup licenses. We don't want to do any of that. So we license at the host level. So we have a free version that's free for 2 virtual machines forever. But we also have our paid versions as well, starting with standard, and that will give you backup services for 5 virtual machines on a given host. And you get all the freeware edition features plus offsite backups, encryption, all of the stuff that you've come to know in a backup application. Then we get up to unlimited, and that will cover unlimited virtual machines per host. And then we're also adding in the augmented inline deduplication, the boot from backup features, support for clustering and vCenter, exchange level restores, things like that. And we get into the unlimited plus, which adds features like WAN optimized replication, continuous data protection, the ability to use Azure as an offsite location, and access to that cloud management console I mentioned earlier. And then if you're an MSP, you get all the bells and whistles at a pay per VM per month model. If you want a little bit more information on that, you go to altaro.com/vm-backup/pricing.php for more information. Let's talk about our other solutions in case you're interested. So if you're using Office 365, we do have a solution for that. It comes to a surprise to many people that Microsoft does not back up and does not natively provide the ability to recover Office 365 mails. Microsoft is responsible for providing the mail services, making sure they're available for people to consume. They are not responsible for handling unexpected data loss. So that's where we come in with our Office 365 backup application. This says for MSPs, but this can also be used by organizations and IT departments as well. It uses that same cloud management console to handle the management of the solution. You don't have to provide any storage. We handle all the storage for you. We actually host that storage in Microsoft Azure. It's fully industry compliant. We handle it for you. That way you don't have to worry about providing your own storage in that situation. The other nice thing about this is that we can protect emails, contacts, calendars, attachments, and you can recover entire mailboxes or a specific item if you want as well. And that's paid at a per mailbox per month model if you are an MSP, or if you're an end user organization or IT departments, it goes in 10 mailbox increments per year. So you pay for 10 mailboxes at a time for an entire year or more if you want a discount, and we'll handle the mail backups for you. So the other thing I want to do is just cover our roadmap here really quick. That way people know what's coming up. So we actually have a newish product coming out here, physical server backup. It's going to be freeware at first. We actually have that in public beta right now if you feel like testing it. So you get more information on that on our website. And that'll allow you to back up physical machines. So we've talked with a lot of customers and gotten a lot of feedback that, most organizations, there's always that one machine that is still a physical box, and they want some way of protecting that. We're going to be providing that in our backup stack here. Additionally, for our Office 365 product, we've got a couple of new things coming. We've got SharePoint and OneDrive for business support coming later this year. We also have granular user access rights coming, and self-service end user portal if you're an MSP. So those will be some nice things coming. For a VM backup application, the one that I just showed you, we're going to be having support for multiple offsite backup locations coming. So if you want to offsite to more than one location, we're going to have that functionality. And in addition to the Azure offsite support for offsite backups, we'll be adding support for Amazon S3 and Wasabi as well. And then later in the year, we'll be having another iteration of the physical server backup with some additional bells and whistles. And then for H1 next year, we're going to be having the ability to actually protect virtual machines running in Azure and DR as a service as well. So I mentioned support a couple of times during the webinar. I have nothing but amazing things to say about our support team. They do a fantastic job. They provide 24/7 support at no extra cost, and you get that lightning fast call response guarantee of less than 30 seconds. And you're actually going to get a human that answers the phone in less than 30 seconds. And the other great thing is we don't do tiered support here at Altaro. You're not going to get a tier 1 person that's just reading through a script and says, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? You're not going to get that with us. Everybody who answers the phone is a product expert, and they will own your issue from start to finish. So again, nothing but great things to say about our support team. A little quick information here about our partner program. Again, we are 100% channel focused. If you sign up as a partner with us, you get free NFRs, you get lead support and more. Get a local presence and access to our Altaro partner portal. If you want a little bit more information on that, you go to altaro.com/partner-program.php for more information. If you're an MSP, we offer this application in a MSP model that's designed for multi-tenancy. It's got a pay per VM per month model, and there are no contracts. So I know we start with 10 VMs, no binding contracts. You can scale up to basically as large as you want to go. And then from there, just kind of summing it all up, again, we provide a hassle-free, easy-to-use application for Hyper-V and VMware that gets you up and running in less than 15 minutes, providing unbeatable value that I hopefully have conveyed to you today. And you get that with our lightning call fast response time. A little bit more contact information here. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to support@altaro.com or sales@altaro.com for more information. Again, we have live chat available as well if you prefer that for some of your questions. You go to help.altaro.com/support/home for more information as well. And with that, I will take a few questions. We're a little over time, but I'll go ahead and take a few questions here. Got a question here to back up regular servers. By regular server, I'm guessing physical servers. And in our roadmap I showed just a second ago, we do have physical server backup coming. Again, it's in public beta right now. Go to our website to find more information about that. If a backup was missed, how do you start one to catch up? So what you can do is, if a backup is missed, maybe it fails for some reason, maybe the VM was offline or something, what you can do is either wait for the scheduled job to happen again, or you just go to the backup section of the UI, click the checkbox next to the virtual machine, say take backup, and just do one manually that way as well. So, and additionally, if you're using our notification options, if a backup is missed or failed for some reason, we'll let you know about that as well. If there are any other questions, feel free to use them. Feel free to use the GoToWebinar questions form. If you have any more, I'll leave it open for another 30, 45 seconds here if you have any others. And if you think of any further questions even after this webinar, feel free to email me directly at Andy, A-N-D-Y, @altaro.com. I'm not going to make you spell my last name because it messes most people up. So it's just simple, Andy, A-N-D-Y, @altaro.com. I got a couple more questions here. Any agents for Android? No, we can't protect Android, can't protect that operating system right now. If you're talking about managing the solution from Android, our cloud management console, while it's not optimized for mobile, you can log into it with mobile. So you might have to scroll and pinch and zoom around a little bit, but you do have that option. All right. Well, with that, I think I'm going to let everybody get back to their day. I want to say thank you for attending. Really enjoyed having you here. Really enjoyed conveying some of the information to you. And hope to see you again for a future webinar with us, whether it's on our products or whether it's one of our other educational webinars on Hyper-V, VMware, or MSP information. So with that, I'll leave you all to your day. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.